is Susan Sun Nunamaker with sunisthefuture.net. I'm here in Moscone Center of San Francisco in Intersolar North America of 2015. Right next to me we have Mr. Tony Dorta with UL. And there's a very good reason why we are here, because all of our lives are at stake here. And we have Mr. Dorta tell us, why do you think UL is so important and the history behind UL?
Sure, I'll be glad to. UL's been it's been around over 120 years. It actually was created about, during the time of the lighting fair in Chicago. And, the reason why we came about was there was a big push into replacing all the luminaires at the lighting show from gas to electricity.
Oh,
and
yes.
The big fight between Thomas Edison and Westinghouse was actually which type of electricity was going to be safer, whether it's AC or DC power.
Yes.
They needed someone to actually investigate the issue and come out with a solution. So, UL came out and said, okay, we can actually take on that responsibility, and we actually did. And as we know, AC power took over the world at that time, and it never looked back since then. Now, from there, the exciting part that has happened is that UL has been involved into the development of standards for the U.S. We actually use people within the industry, different industries, whether it's lighting industry, medical industry, solar industry, very well versed people into those technologies, and come out with requirements that actually make sense. The last thing that anybody wants is somebody hurts within technologies that can come about that you and I will use in our everyday lives. So a lot of the requirements that are written are based on unsafe products that we have seen in the market.
It's really
some people have
written in blood, so to speak. Huh?
Right. I mean, people get hurt. Sometimes, I always say you can't prevent stupidity. You try to prevent, people from getting hurt, but people will always find a way to get hurt. And you can't, sometimes it's very hard to come up with requirements, because if you put enough barriers to utilize a piece of equipment, you can't utilize the piece of equipment at the end of the day. So what's the point, right? So it's a balance to find undeveloped standards that make sense to protect you as far as it's possibly humanly possible without rendering the equipment inoperable. So that's the whole history of how we came about and what we do. Another side of UL as well is not only we write the standards, but we also test to those standards. We have a well-versed group of engineers on the east. North Group is our main office, the West Coast, and several other offices around the country, whether it's Latin America, China, Europe, where we actually do certification work. And that's why you see most of the pieces of equipment with the UL logo on their bag or the side.
Yes, we have seen this on a lot of products.
Exactly. So that guarantees that product has been evaluated and tested against the standards that we write, and they comply.
Do you have to retest them on a periodic basis?
Yeah, well, usually what happens is you go through a certification process where we actually evaluate the product to the standard. We do the testing required for the standard, and then we do follow-up services on that equipment. So we make sure that, on a quarterly basis, we go to the manufacturing site and we verify that the equipment indeed has not changed. That is still being built the same way it was supposed to when it was submitted to certification. Now, products go through cycles. Some of them are 6 months, some of them are 12 months, some of them are 2 years. It depends on what you have. For example, if you see, blow dryers, for example, things like that, their cycle is very short. Everybody tries to come up with a new blow dryer, although they all do the same thing. Every 6 months, 12 months. So it's a more rapidly changing, device. And there's a lot of certification work that is being done on that. Now, if you have a big piece of industrial equipment, a big transformer, well, maybe you design one this year and you're not going to redesign it for another 5-10 years. So the volume is a little bit less.
So this is, go on. Oh, this is a solar trade show, basically.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of the company that's dealing with solar products,
Correct.
if, let's say, for example, companies that are in Europe or Asia, are they, you mentioned that you have branches in Europe and Asia,
Sure.
right? So are they basically having their products tested in Europe or Asia, or do they have to come to US to have it done here also?
They don't. They don't. As a matter of fact, we have one of our bigger labs for PV is located in Germany. So our our clients in Europe can utilize our German office rather than send the equipment all the way to the U.S. It helps, obviously, that closer to the companies that we service, and engineers can actually go to the laboratories and look at the failures, if any, during the certification process. And the same thing, we have another office in China. Again, they do PV work as well, and we have our offices in Northbrook and San Jose, where we do inverter work, combiner boxes work, we do PV modules work. So we cover the entire world. We try by having strategic locations throughout the world where we can actually perform the work.
So do you foresee you all expanding into places such as Brazil or Africa, perhaps, in the future?
Yeah, it's funny you ask. I do travel quite a bit to Latin America. We do have an office in Brazil. We do have an office in Argentina. We have an office in Mexico. And we're expanding into other countries as well. I travel quite a bit to Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. So, we utilize the closest office to those countries, which in this case happens to be Mexico. Or even send the equipment up to the U.S. For testing, but we want to make sure that they know we're there, that we can help them. We have been very active in South Africa right now as well,
Yes.
Australia. So we do try to penetrate the entire globe, if not directly with an office, because there's a process to create an office in a foreign country. More of like agents or local personnel that is allocated to those areas for expanding and help the manufacturers of those countries penetrate, whether it's the U.S. or other areas in the world.
So any manufacturers that would like to be able to sell within the United States, they should try to get tested at UL first.
That's right.
Would you say? Okay, great. What are the contact information and websites for UL? So manufacturers or distributors would like to, or even actually consumers would like to find out more information about
you can
these
go to
products.
www.ul.com.
ul.com.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's
great.
very straightforward. You can go to our directory of products. So if you're unclear if a product has been listed by UL or not, you actually have a list on that
Very good.
directory, and it should actually have the UL mark somewhere in the product, but sometimes unclear, so you can go there. You have all the contact information of the different offices, so you have a contact to reach out to if you have certification needs. And we'll be glad to help you out.
Great. Has there been companies that's needed, like even if they didn't test through the first time, they were able to get help from you and be tested again and passed to the second or third time?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends how prepared you are for certification. I mean, there's huge companies, Siemens, ABB, who have allocated resources for certification. So they know the requirements. They test the product to those requirements. So by the time they submit to UL, they're pretty close that, with a tweak here or there, they're most likely going to comply. And then you have your, I don't want to say mom and pops because these companies are pretty big nowadays, but, startup companies, they come out with a new design. They know that it works, but they're not quite sure if it complies to the requirements of the standard that's safe enough that they could be placed in the market. So they come to us, and yes, there's certainly a few more problems, and we work with them to make sure they understand the requirements, that they understand why a particular test has failed or not failed. And we go through the process and help them out. And at the end of the day, I mean, the goal is to get certified. So they do tweak the product and make it compliant, and eventually we'll give them certification.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony.
Anytime. Thank you for your
And
time.
this is Susan Sun signing off at sunisthefuture.net.